All right, hello everybody. Hopefully you're having a good week thus far. We're gonna wait a few. Of course, as always, we're gonna wait a few minutes before getting started. I do have six stories for you tonight. Three comics related, um, two anime, two cartoon related, and then one anime related. So, anyways, while we wait here, I'm gonna do a couple of things real quick, and we'll get started here pretty quick. Just put some music on while I step away for a moment. And I'm back. Hello, everybody. All right. So, you can see at the banner on the bottom there, the running banner of course, to remember to please like and share the stream so we can bring in more friendly, happy people, other people. And also, feel free to comment, ask questions, anything that we report on happen to grab your attention. So with that, let's see, where are we at now on time here? Okay, so yeah, we'll give it a few more minutes that people come in. I do thank you for the like and the share. Um, yes. Hey, Woody, much bubbling about Susan's um, paradise tonight. Oh, what, Susan Wojciechowski? Yeah. Well, Woody, yeah, I guess that is kind of the case. Let's see. So, all right, we're at 8:20 now, so might as well get a little bit more into the detail of what we have on tap tonight. As I said earlier, we have we do have 6 articles we're going to go through tonight. 3 comics related, 2 animated related, and then 1 anime related. So we got more. Let's see. Among the stuff we're going to be talking about tonight. Let's see, get a chance to see. Let's see. There's a rumor going around that Mark Hamill may reprise his role as the voice of the Joker um, for the multiverses video game, DC multiverses video game. Let's see. Square Enix's Nier Automata version 1.1a. That anime is apparently dropping tonight. Let's see. Batman artist Kelly Jones reveals how he got past DC Comics editor Denny O'Neil's soft ban on Mr. Freeze. Thinking Critical has some things to say about DC and Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's see. Um, also, apparently Warner Brothers is planning on retconning Velma as LGBT, and Marvel and Pfizer team up for a COVID-19 advocacy comic starring the Avengers. So that's what we have for you guys on tap for the articles tonight. So we'll get into those pretty quick here, and then of course, as usual, the wrestling roundup and the wrestling roundup, and as well as the wrestling roundup, and and of course we also will have this day in each history towards the end. So without any further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started then? All right, now this is technically, according to them, this is more in the realm of video games, but it does have a link to obviously a cartoon. That's why we're partly going to report on it because, of course, Mark Hamill, who famously provided the voice of Joker among a number of different kind of megalomaniacal, psychotic villains, throughout the '90s and early 2000s. He's apparently gonna. So not much. Hey, Bianca Zombie. Thank you for dropping in. If you can, of course, like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. That'd be appreciated. And thank you for that. See that you just did. All right, so let's get going with this first article here. All right, so now there's of course a rumor. The Joker from Batman the Animated Series is joining multiverses, reportedly being voiced by Mark Hamill. Of course, Mark Hamill did the Joker as well as Solomon Grundy on a number of DCAU projects, including, most notably, of course, the aforementioned Batman the Animated Series from 1992. Article by Ryan Pearson published October 3rd, which is this past Monday. All right, so data miners have seemingly uncovered not only will the Joker be joining the multiverses as announcer, but Mark Hamill has reportedly reprised his role as the iconic Batman villain. As reported by IGN, at Lysol MV uncovered the Joker's announcer voice lines for multiverses. Clown Prince of Crime can be heard mocking players whether they win or lose, ridiculing them for picking a character and alerting them when time is running down in a match. As with Batman the Animated Series, the Batman Arkham series of video games, and several other appearances in media, the Joker is seemingly being voiced by Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, of course, everybody knows from his live action credit, of course, is Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, but also has done a number of kind of megalomaniacal, psychotic, cackling villains, the Joker being one, Hobgoblin from Spider-Man the Animated Series. He also, of course, did the voice of Solomon Grundy on a few episodes of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And he also he was, I think, the main villain in Super Robot Monkey Team Hyper Force. I got that. It should be noted that announcer packs can also include lines by playable characters, as is the case with the Cape Crusader, Shaggy from Scooby Doo, and even characters one can assume would be less articulate, like Taz from Looney Tunes. Back in May of this year, IGN India reported on another data mine from the same source who revealed multiverses before its debut. While that Reddit post has since been removed, it claimed that Joker and other 23 characters would be coming to the game. The list included Rick and Morty from the eponymously named animated show, Gizmo from Gremlins, NBA star LeBron James from Space Jam: A New Legacy, and the Warners from Animaniacs. And there's Rick in the game, I guess. Let's see. Since then, we've seen all but the Animaniacs being revealed for multiverses, lending some credibility to the earlier data mine claims. Um, at Lysol MV also spotlighted that Warner Brothers official, in small quote, Water Tower Music YouTube channel had uploaded a tune titled, quote, Come On Down to the Warner Brothers Lot, unquote. Presumably a track for the potential Water Tower stage that suggests the Animaniacs could be joining the crossover fighting title, hence the name Multiverses, right? Hmm. The other characters in May's data mine include Teen Titans Raven, Marvin the Martian, Scooby Doo, uh, Daenerys and the Hound from Game of Thrones, the Wicked Witch from Wizard of Oz, Godzilla, Johnny Bravo, Fred Flintstone, Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, Gabby Duck, along with Duck Dodgers, alternate skin, Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Get over here! Ben 10 and Ted Lasso. Oh yeah, and there's the Joker from the Joker Fish episode. He basically put his Joker toxin into the fish and just about sickened in the entirety of Gotham City. While Mad Max and Harry Potter are also listed, they were reportedly, quote, on hold, unquote, at the time of release. Likewise, the reception to certain characters, playstyles from the alpha and beyond may have changed plans, along along with the licensing rights um, and other backroom discussions. In any case, it's not hard to imagine the Joker's moveset in multiverses based on the character's 82-year trajectory in comics, cartoons, movies, video games, and other types of media. A Cracker Jack box of madcap gizmos and gadgets will be sure to slam, slice, explode, and melt his opponents, and of course, send them into hysterics with his Joker toxin. The character is sure to be a laugh riot when he appears, one way or another. Oh, there we go with that one. And of course, always, if anything catches your attention here, feel free to comment or ask questions. So, anyways, get ready to move on to the next article then. So send in the furries. Down on the desert sun, Area 51. The cloud has just begun. Naruto run. Kyles and Karens. Anyway, so here's our next story, an anime related story here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Near Automata version ver 1.1a anime drops new teasers confirming series release date, original story by creator Yoko Taro. Article by Nerdigans, published October 3rd, 2022. Just a few months following its initial announcement, the upcoming anime entry in Square Enix's and Platinum Games' futuristic apocalypse series, near Automata version 1.1a has received its first official trailer. Oh, look at that. It's probably from the trailer right there. Aniplex. During Aniplex's third annual online festival on September 25th, so I think that was maybe a week ago this past Sunday, I think. Fans were thrown for a loop. Or maybe it was last Tuesday, I guess. Yeah, I think it was last Tuesday. Not yesterday, but a week before yesterday. Fans were thrown for a loop when A1 Pictures, who are of course responsible for Licorice Recoil and Kaguya-sama, released a pair of promotional trailers for the upcoming anime installment of the franchise. A1 Productions kicked off near Automata's showcase with the introduction of the Automata stoic female protagonist 2B, who is voiced in Japanese by Yui Ishikawa, who provides the Japanese voice for Mikasa Ackerman in Attack on Titan. That's what she looks like right there. Kind of an interesting look for a lot of Japanese characters, kind of a white-haired look. I don't know if that's supposed to be white hair or platinum blonde, but still kind of an interesting look nonetheless. As her official character profile, 2B is a general-purpose combat android and member of the elite military force of Yorha unit. Struggling to remain faithful to the rules banning androids from having feelings, her personality is considered to be exceptionally calm and collected, even amongst her fellow like-programmed Butler-type B androids. Receiving his own trailer, next up was 2B's scanner-type partner, 9S, who is voiced by Natsuki Hanai, who provides the Japanese voice for Tanjiro Kamado in Demon Slayer. Excuse me again, I'm sorry. Chloe's barking again. I gotta go deal with her. I'll be right back. I'll put some music on while I'm gone. All right, I'm back. Um, oh, we got Jason in here. Monica, yeah, she turned 47 today. I turned 47 on Friday. She's like 2 days older than me. You watch 100, I've seen both of those dubs. I saw the dub from '99. The one of the '99 series done by Blue Water, and I saw the more recent one done by Studio Opera. The favorite. Don't have one because I don't even know who that is. Anyways, getting back to the article here. All right, so here we go. One of Yorha Unit Search and Investigation Specialist, 9S's primary role is to gather information for the group's combat models, including 2D. Due to his position, 9S has developed an inquisitive personality. Not only that, but 9S is considered to be one of the most emotionally expressive androids, the complete opposite of 2D. Wow, that sounds like a very interesting dynamic. Somebody who's full on emotional and partnered with somebody who's not emotional. So that's a very interesting dynamic right there. With the premiere of these trailers, original Nier creator and version 1.1a writer Yoko um, Taro um, appeared alongside anime director Ryoji Matsuyama from Blend S to discuss the upcoming series lore and development. According to Matsuyama, when he was first approached by Aniplex, the helm version 1.1a, he was taken aback by the fact that the project's protagonist, 2B, and 92 had their eyes covered. Um, this, he explained, was because eyes are considered a significant source of symbolism in anime. Nevertheless, he noted that he was thrilled to undertake the challenge of bringing their story to the small screen. So there you have it right there. And I don't 90 it might he might have meant 9S. Recalling his own experience, Taro said that when he was first approached by Aniplex to create a near anime, he found himself that they had asked him so long after the automata's release as anime tie-ins to video games, normally released together in order to quote unquote gain energy in the way of increased sales. So basically, I think what he's saying is that normally when they do an anime based on a video game, they release it with the video game in the hope that they'll basically be able to get the story, the thrill of the anime and the thrill of the video game will be able to feed off each other's energy and just metamorph to a more positive outcome. Um, even so, even so, said the eccentric creator, Aniplex was very insistent with Taro that the anime would be made. So, and she talked to me like she was threatening me, I guess. And so Taro playfully recalled of one producer. So, and I was like, "Ooh, I understand." Unquote. Taro then announced that the title of the series would be version 1.1a because he wanted to be clear that the anime would be a separate entity from the game, even featuring changes to the original narrative. So, Near Automata was a story he created to be a game, unquote, he clarified. So copying it as is wouldn't make an interesting story for an anime. It makes sense. It's going to make some sense there. However, when he first proposed the idea to Aniplex, Taro said they weren't exactly happy, particularly because they wanted to please fans by making a direct anime adaptation of Near Automata possible. So it sounds like there's a little breakdown in communication. Uh, that's interesting. A little breakdown in communication there. Quote, the original creator was trying to destroy the story, and the anime staff was desperately stopping that, unquote. Horror described as the drama with anything. So that debate kept going back and forth for a long time. To this end, Taro claimed that the purpose of version 1.1a was to take advantage of the anime medium go beyond the cinematography limitations inherent to video games. Quote, consequently, you may find differences in the adaptation, but should you find any discrepancies between the two that don't make sense, unquote, he ultimately noted before offering a bit of reassurance to fans, quote, I'm the one going around and breaking things for them. So if anyone is dissatisfied, it's likely to be my fault, unquote. Near Automata version 1.1a is on track to set the world on fire when it launches in January 2023. Alrighty then, so there we go for that. We got through two of the stories thus far. Anyways, I'm sorry, I do need to step away from the computer for a moment again. I'll be right back, but I will set things up here for the next story. Anyway, let's see. I'll be right back. I'm back. So, um, do something real quick. I gotta go tend to the dog again. I'll be right back. Anyways, I'm back now. I'm wondering you're the only one home and your dog decides it's got to go and bark. It's kind of a bit of a pain. Anyways, let's get back to the article here, or let's get to the article here. This is okay. So, Batman artist Kelly Jones reveals how he got past DC Comics editor Denny O'Neil's top ban on Mr. Freeze. Article by J.D. Augustine, published October 4th, which is yesterday. Anyone who has been collecting DC Comics since the 90s is familiar with the surreal Batman covers by Kelly Jones and their exaggerated proportions in the middle of strange tableaus. He was a prominent figure in the revamped post-crisis quote-unquote Nightfall period. It started and overseen by Denny O'Neil. Nightfall. There it is with Bane right there. Mikestand, Graham Nolan, Scott Hanna. Late writers' vision and stories were influential as late writers' vision and stories were as influential as Jones's art, and as much um, as he himself was an editor at a time, the latter recently looked back on um, in a social media post. Jones revealed what it was like working under the man who played the biggest role in bringing the noir back to the Dark Knight, and the chilly difference of opinion Jones got him to budge on. Um, O'Neill, as it turns out, was not a big fan of Mr. Freeze, who was conspicuous by his absence on the page when you think back. This is despite the icy villain's compelling storylines and revamped origin in Batman the Animated Series and the cheesy portrayal by Arnold Schwarzenegger in Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin. Quote, when I was doing monthly Batman, I wanted to do Mr. Freeze and found out that Denny O'Neil didn't like the character, unquote. Jones wrote on Facebook, at all, unquote. I begged and I pleaded a minute or so for at least one issue and was told no, unquote. So there's Mr. Freeze from, I think, his first appearance, Heart of Ice. Um, the cold-hearted bad guy was on fire at the time, but O'Neill just didn't have a place for him. Till Jones showed him what he had in mind for the design. Quote, but Denny called me a few hours later and asked me why I wanted to so much, and I said my reasons. In parentheses here, I just thought he was scary and noirish, and I saw him very differently visually, unquote, Jones continued. Quote, okay, Denny said, show me the way you see Freeze, and if I like it, you can do it, unquote, Jones added. Um, quote, I got to do it. One of the many reasons I love Denny, bracket, he always gave me a chance, unquote. Attached was a sketch he sent O'Neill 27 years ago. So 27 years ago from now, that would be back in 1995. Right here. Kind of a. Would that be kind of a similar design they used for Arnold Schwarzenegger? Who portrayed Mr. Freeze. Design is definitely scarier, or at the least more intimidating. Um, Freeze is bulkier and looks like his head is decayed to the point that he has no lips or a jaw. Um, you also get the sense the skull might be floating. Ah, yeah, it's kind of the look he had maybe in the Batman animated series a little bit. Be floating disembodied as if the helmet is more of a jar secured um, to his shoulders that contains it. Artist John Beatty made a few tweaks to subdue the grimmer parts, and the final design appeared in Batman number 525 back in 1995. If it looks familiar, like you've seen it in a movie or something, that's because it was an inspiration for the glowing armor in Batman and Robin, and later similar iterations as Twitter Dark Knight's archivist at Histo the Batman, Hista Batman, um, points out. Ah, okay, so I was right. It did look kind of like the way he did in the movie. Danny O'Neill may not have liked Mr. Freeze. Maybe he didn't understand him, but he wouldn't be the first. Freeze wasn't embraced as a stalwart of Batman's rogues until Bruce Timm and Paul Dini came up with the tragic backstory for Batman the animated series. Ah, okay, yeah, that actually was a pretty compelling story arc that they did with him, throughout the Batman the animated series, the new Batman adventures, and then when Mister Freeze made his appearance early on in the Batman Beyond series as well. So that was a pretty good story, though. Yeah, well, we're like about halfway through the article that we're going to go through tonight. If it's the one, the crowd has just begun. Naruto run, Alan run. So here's the next one we're going to be looking at, and we're going to be looking at some commentary from Thinking Critical. Of course, that's after I get my dog back in and get her to be quiet. I'll be right back again. All right, I'm back. Now let's get back to it again. All right, so here we go with our some nice images here from of Superman. Superman, help! Save me! Uh, YouTuber Thinking Critical explains why chaos at DC and Warner Brothers Discovery is a bigger problem than finding a studio head for the DCEU. Article by J.D. Augustine, published October 4th, 2022, which reports yesterday. So let's take a look at this. Warner Brothers has a lot on its plate at the moment due to tax spins and the merger with Discovery. And the load is getting bigger and heavier all the time. There's such a gaggle of problems. The old regime left CEO David Zaslav with that, with that, with that the thing he wants to focus on, finding someone with the vision of Kevin Feige to run DC Films, is harder to prioritize. YouTuber and pundit Thinking Critical pointed this out when citing and reacting to an article by the Hollywood Reporter. Quote, Warner Brothers Discovery has bigger problems than its DC search. Um, that discusses issues Warner Brothers Discovery has with debt. Oh wow, they got a old looking Superman there, grandfather looking Superman. Um, the company's hefty debt is a nebulous burden they have to lift to be solvent enough to climb out of their tumbling stock and instill confidence in shareholders on Wall Street again. Of course, they're not going to do that if they keep pushing woke garbage like having Jonathan Kent sit there and announce to the world that he's gay or that he's bisexual, whatever. That's not really going to sell much. As such, the cuts came fast and hard, and it was goodbye to Batgirl and other films. Zaslav and CFO Gunnar Wiedenfels think they are making progress, but Hollywood Reporter argues there is another buyout looming, this one by NBC Universal, that it's hoped will bail them out of their woes. Thinking Critical singles out a paragraph explaining a deal that could be made, which says, quote, given the company's dawning challenges, it has become accepted wisdom at the highest levels of the industry that another deal waits in the wings for Warner Brothers Discovery. There's David Zaslav right there. That CNBC interview. It continues, quote, for reasons related to the complicated structure of that merger, no negotiations can happen until April 2024. But at that point, many industry observers believe that Comcast's Brian Roberts will make a long-awaited move, looking to combine NBC Universal and Warner Brothers Discovery, unquote. Next, the Hollywood Reporter talked to an insider whose opinion is Zaslav is priming Warner for another sale, even if the buyer's streaming offering is substandard. Quote, that deal would face some interesting antitrust issues, but would give his company scale and a viable streaming service, unquote, says the trade. All right, well, good to see somebody who just came in. All right. Anyways, continuing on with the article here. They add, quote, obviously Peacock sucks, says one exec with knowledge of both companies. There are some good synergies. I'm sure, in bracket, Roberts is licking his chops because in bracket, Warner Brothers Discovery, stock is so low. And I think that Zaslav's endgame, get the place sold, unquote. Thinking Critical reminds his viewers that constant selling and mergers have been the status quo for the last several years. Zack Snyder and a shared universe were in, and then suddenly out in favor of the multiverse to justify standalone films, Joker and the Batman. Joss Whedon and the studio cut of Justice League were part of that conundrum, but repudiated this year. Seems in favor of the old Snyderverse What's old is new again, at least for the time being. According to Thinking Critical, a new merger would keep the instability train going from going um, going, and the effects would trickle down to the publishing arm. So they think that with the movies being cut, eventually you're going to start seeing the comics have to be affected by it too, and we've already seen that. This, he argues, will hamstring Jim Lee and the gutted staff even further, as decision making would be impossible with more corporate heads playing musical chairs. There will be no consistent vision at TC Films or Comics if the cinema wing is changing leaders every year or so. If Lee can't sit down and make an 8-year plan, assuming he has the forethought, an 8 or 10-year plan isn't feasible if there is a merger with job losses every 2 years. Quote, the DCEU just can't be successful right now, unquote, Teen Critical said. And they certainly can't compete with Marvel, not that they're doing well either. I think Marvel's just slightly doing better than DC from what I've heard. So okay, so getting back to the difficult of finding a DC film head committed for the long haul and willing to work under Zaslav still provides a huge obstacle despite debt and mergers being bigger issues. Quote, Zaslav doesn't know what he doesn't know, unquote, as one leading talent rep puts it to Hollywood Reporter. Quote, that's scary, and you're always going to be compared to Marvel. Of course, and Marvel and DC have been two of the biggest companies for the last 70, 75 years or so, 80 years. You know. Oh yeah, so the person added, quote, it's unfair. By the time they were being judged, it was working. It's the exact opposite at Warner. It's rough all around. Who the bleep would want that job? They later point out, quote, DC is so fragmented, unquote, as well as mashing of eggs, quote, quote, JJ in brackets Abrams had this one. Zack Snyder had that one. Todd Phillips had the other thing, and they're all such huge egos. Oh, egos, not okay. I misread it. Mashing of egos. The Hollywood Reporter claims Zaslav doesn't inspire confidence with its tough management style, and neither does Wiedenfels with his method of slashing content, quote unquote, without warning. However, a Warner spokesperson denied the place was for sale, stating they're, quote, building for the long term, unquote. Yet, going with the premise of uncertainty, the YouTuber predicts a reboot for DC on film in 2023, another in 2024, when the prophesied merger with NBCU takes hold, and the end of DC in comics as we know it through licensing of characters. David Zaslav, Thinking Critical, believes it's all right with that. Oh, there we go with that one. Excuse me a moment. I'm gonna need to take care of my dog. We got 2 more articles to go through. Those are the 2 right there. I'll be right back again. All right, I'm back. Yeah, you guys might start noticing that we have another little helper here. Try to have Chloe come in with me. Um, there's some going on barking. So anyway, just get back to the article here. Alrighty. Go ahead and lay down. All right, so getting back to the article here. Right, Warner Brothers retcon drama has LGBT in new Halloween movie, in brackets, Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo. Article by Spencer Cooley, published October 4th, 2022, which was yesterday. Okay, so in the latest case of contemporary pop culture, um, yeah, Spencer McCauley, we already mentioned that. Head cannons running rampant over their respective source material. Mystery Inc.'s newest animated adventure, Trick or Treat Scooby Doo, has confirmed the team's resident brains, in smaller quotes, Velma, as a member of the LGBT community. Making its digital debut on October 4th, Trick or Treat Scooby Doo sees the famous team of teen detectives undertaking an, an investigation of one Coco Diablo, the prolific fashion designer who is revealed to have created most of the um, smaller quotes monsters faced by the gang over the years. Wow, interesting. Um, Now think about that. They're teens. They're teens for the last what 53 years or so, 50 plus years. I think a lot of people would wish they could stay teenagers for 50 plus years, right? Eventually arrested for her role in providing equipment to individuals in service of committing crimes, Diablo, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is I believe the Spanish word for devil, is later approached by Mystery Inc. in regards to a recent attack by Count Nefario on the Quillsville Halloween Fest. Initially, the gang believe her to be the mastermind behind the plot, but after adamantly denying her own involvement, Diablo offers her services in getting to the bottom of the mystery. Unsurprisingly, it is it is this diabolic fashion designer who Velma develops an attraction towards. With her rush on Coco, I think it's what somebody got to put a C in there. With her crush on Coco um, being revealed um, within the cold open of Trick or Treat Scooby Doo. Therein, upon making her way into Coco's warehouse after the police and the rest of her team have already secured the scene and discovering what the villain truly looks like, Velma is left stunned, her cheek proceeding to blush, and her glasses fog up. From there, Velma is seen throughout the film near obsessing over Coco, reading her various books, overexcitedly agreeing with the proposition of enlisting her help, and jumping to wear a heart-shaped quote unquote tether to the criminal's ankle monitor. Oh, brother. So now they're like really trying to push the LGBT agenda. Give me a moment, folks. I think I can let Chloe out of my room now because I think my sister's home now. So, anyways, I'll be right back here. And I'm back. Oh, we had a couple more. Like, okay, cool. All right, getting back to the article here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's just weird because I didn't know convicted felons were your type, unquote, Daphne quipped as the team leaves the prison housing Coco with their new teammates in tow. Initially meeting Daphne's jesting with comical denial, Velma soon admits, quote, okay, who am I kidding? I'm crushing big time, Daphne. What do I do? What do I say? Unquote. Quote, don't overthink it, unquote, replies her redheaded friend. Quote, don't overthink it, unquote. Okay, now for those of us who grew up watching Scooby Doo, did any of you really ever think for a moment that they would ever do something like this with a kids cartoon? I don't think any of us in our lifetime ever thought they would go this far to push an agenda. That's just absolutely crazy. But as we're seeing here, it's exactly what they're doing. Ultimately, this romantic subplot culminates in Velma's awkwardly approaching Coco in the aftermath of their film ending action set piece and admitting her feelings to her former foe. Quote, I'd like to think that under different circumstances we'd really get along, unquote, sheepishly suggests Velma as their time together comes to an end. Quote, oh, really? Unquote, asks Coco in turn. Oh, there I go. saying the wrong thing again, unquote, groans Velma, to which her crush vaguely replies, quote, no, it's just thought that was we got along great, unquote. Quote, do you know how rare it is for me to like someone other than myself, unquote, she asked in conclusion, proceeding to turn herself back into the police. Whoa, like her glasses are melting. Ouch. Despite this scene making Velma's feelings explicitly clear, Coco's retort does not seem to be given with any sort of, in small quotes, romantic undertone. Whether this is meant to imply that Coco is slightly misreading Velma's feelings or is a misinterpretation based on awkward voice direction remains to be seen. Notably, prior to Velma's meeting of Coco, all of her love interests have been depicted as strictly male. These include her teammate Shaggy, Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated. Now, granted, even you would kind of even get the more subtle hint droppings, even back as far back as the original series Scooby Doo. Where are you? It was pretty well implied that Fred and Dabney were kind of interested in each other romantically, and maybe to a lesser degree Shaggy and Velma. So her quote unquote male doppelganger Windsor, Scooby Doo Legend of the Phantasaur, and even Johnny Bravo, season 1, episode 3, quote, Bravo Dooby Doo, unquote. Oh, yeah. Trick or Treat Scooby Doo is now available digitally. A Cartoon Network premiere set for October 14th, so a week from this Friday. The film being made available on HBO Max the next day. Fans interested in the home video release can pick it up 3 days later on October 18th. Okay, so I believe that'll be on a Tuesday. So there we go with that one. Alrighty then. So we got 3 people in here. Yay, 3 people. Alrighty then. So we're gonna get ready to move on to the last article that we'll be doing tonight. Already at an hour 23, so we're making good time here, I guess. So here's the last comics related article here. And of course, as you know, if you read the banner, feel free to comment or ask questions if anything strikes gets your attention, grabs your attention. And I'll do my best to answer to any questions as best I can do. Marvel and Pfizer team up for COVID-19 vaccine advocacy comic starring the Avengers. Article by Spencer Bacouli, published October 4th, which was yesterday, 22. In Marvel's latest corporate promotional collaboration, Pfizer has commissioned the comic book publisher to publish a pro-COVID-19 vaccination advocacy story wherein the Avengers' efforts to save the world from one of their arch foes is equated to individuals keeping up to date on their shots and boosters. Yeah, that's yeah, right. Okay, so getting the shot is equivalent to being heroic. Yeah, right. No, it's more like a sign that you're not thinking for yourself. You're just following along with the crowd. It's like you don't have a mind of your own. Unveiled by the biotech company on October 4th, which was yesterday, Avengers Everyday Heroes centers on an unnamed family who, while waiting in the waiting room of a COVID-19 vaccination clinic, received word by a television broadcast that the super team's longtime foe Ultron is wreaking havoc not 6 blocks away. Okay, receive word. I think that's supposed to be word, not world. I think somebody made a typo there. Upon hearing the news, the Paul Aller penned of Saban's Power Rangers, the Psychopath, Paco Diaz Illustrated of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 4 story turns to the family's older son, finds himself worrying aloud that the sentient AI could pose a threat to their safety. Quote, "Don't worry," unquote, his little sister attempts to reassure him. Quote, "Captain Marvel will help protect us." Quote, "That's right," exclaims their grandfather, turning to draw a parallel between Ultron and the COVID-19 virus. Quote, "Just like the Avengers have done so many times before, Ultron keeps coming back, keeps changing and evolving, so the Avengers keep adapting and re-strategizing, and they knock him back again and again." Unquote. Quote, "The first time Ultron showed up, we had never seen anything like him before." Unquote. Of course, the only problem what they fail to understand is that there have been studies that have shown that I think I did hear there was a study recently done that showed that if anything, the vaccine you're actually more likely to get COVID with the if you do get the vaccine. Not only that, but it sticks with you longer. Uh, Quote, "Back then, people didn't know much about Ultron, did they?" Unquote. Asked the family's patriarch to his own father. Continuing the comic's thinly veiled analogy, unquote, "At first, people weren't prepared, and he just wreaked havoc on their lives." Quote, "Well, you're right," unquote, confirms the grandfather. Quote, "The Avengers had to figure out how to face him. They relied on decades of experience along with some new innovations, and they used their combined strength to defend us." Yeah, this is propaganda 101 right there. Asked by his grandson, quote, "And they use new tools to help?" The elderly man makes reference to Vision, noting, quote, "Another robot that first time," unquote. Quote, "And it was working for a while," unquote. He then admits drawing the synthezoid into his analogy. Quote, "Then Ultron got a step ahead again," unquote. As the battle continues to rage on in an effort to reassure his family, the grandfather continues to regale them with stories of the Avengers' past victories over Ultron, until eventually Iron Man puts an end to the situation with an ionized energy cannon. Quote, "Grandpa, how did you know what would happen?" Unquote, inquires his grandson. Quote, "Because I know them," unquote. He asserts in turn, quote, "And I've seen their patterns so many times before. Ultron evolves, Avengers gather information and take time to innovate and adapt, and then they figure out how to fight it, putting together their existing knowledge and research along with their information they've learned." Just then, the Avengers, returning triumphant from their clash with Ultron, pass by the grandfather's room, to which Iron Man acknowledges the man and compliments him on his retirement. His family shocked, he reveals that he was once a member of Damage Control, and as such regularly found himself working side by side with the Avengers in the aftermath of their many fights. Oh, and that's how I know that we can fight back against even tough, ever-evolving enemies if you're willing to adapt, fight back, and take steps to help protect yourself, unquote, says the man, as he winds down the corporate-sponsored PSA. Quote, it's also important for the entire communities to come together and help fight the threat, unquote. As a nurse appears to call back the family for their booster shots, the grandfather concludes, quote, the Avengers are doing their part to keep us safe. Now it's time for us to do ours by staying up to date with COVID-19 vaccinations, unquote. Since the comic's publication, Pfizer's official Twitter account has taken to hiding all negative replies to their above tweet. Of course they have. However, unsurprisingly, their efforts have been unsuccessful. Notably, this is not the first vaccination advocacy comic for which comic has been commissioned. Last year, the publisher worked with the New York-based physician network Somos, Community Care for Avengers, We Are Resilient. Its message roughly similar to the one found in Pfizer's issue. And of course, we also know Image Comics got into the act too with Savage Dragon. They pulled the same kind of stunt a few months ago as well, a few months back as well. So Avengers Everyday Heroes can be read for free and in full on Marvel Comics' official website. Alrighty then, there we go with that one. That's all the articles tonight. So let's see, we got a little bit of wrestling roundup to do, and then hope everybody enjoyed the content tonight. Would have loved to see more conversation and stuff on it. Let me see. Okay, so I guess I guess it'll be a good time to start. First off, let's do some quick wrestling roundup. Of course, on the WWE side of things, of course, not a whole lot has been talked about. There has been a White Rabbit promo going on that's been dropping hints of Bray Wyatt's possible return to WWE. But today, apparently, I guess with last night's NXT episode, they decided to throw people off the trail a bit and, do the White Rabbit promos for somebody else, or trying to throw them off by indicating that it's somebody else, something like John Gacy. So again, that's probably about the gist of that. Now, AEW right now, of course, Dynamite is happening, and as such, we'll have more report on that tomorrow. After I've seen the some of the. Excuse me a moment. I do need to go off camera here for a moment. I'll be right back. I'll just put some music on and then. All right, I'm back. So on Dynamite tonight, which of course airs on TNT, among the match, let's see, I think the main event was supposed to be Brian Danielson and Daniel Garcia teaming up to take on Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara of the Jericho Appreciation Society. That feud kind of fuming up on a couple different levels. Garcia trying to come into his own, getting away from the Jericho Appreciation Society, and also that budding feud between Danielson and Jericho, now escalating to be over the Ring of Honor title and Chris Jericho's attempt to make it Ring of Jericho, and looking to desecrate the legacy of Ring of Honor. You're also going to have a trios match of in the women's division, where Toni Storm is going to be teaming with Willow Nightingale and Athena, with Saraya in their corner, taking on Jamie Hayter, Penelope Ford, and Serena Deeb, with Dr. Britt Baker in their corner. So could this be a sign that the women are going to get booked a little better? Just have to wait and see. And of course, MJF and Wheeler Yuta will take each other on and start, to try to settle their issues. Of course, MJF still has the casino chip for his title shot, and of course, he has the backing now of the stable known as the Firm, which was started up by Stokely Hathaway. Those are some of the main stuff going on, and then of course, this Friday there's a 3-hour. You got Rampage followed by Battle of the Belts. Already signed for Battle of the Belts 4, of course, is Pac defending the All Atlantic title against Trent Beretta. So that's about it for that. Let's see, now we're 35. So now I think it's a good time to start winding down. As such, today being Wednesday, October 5th, 2022. Let's why don't we go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. History. Uh, 1972. Okay. Oh, without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So first off, we're going to head back 50 years ago today, as on this date, 50 years ago today, the 20th issue of all right, there we go. So on this date, 50 years ago, back in 1932, the 20th issue of From Beyond the Unknown went on sale on this date for 20 cents. It was 32 pages, edited by Julius Schwartz. Among the features included Star Rovers, When Did Earth Vanish? So on this date, 50 years ago today, the 20th issue of From Beyond the Unknown went on sale on this date back in 1972. Getting ready to move on to the next piece of Nietzsche history. One of a bit more of a sadder note for many wrestling fans of the late 90s. As on this date, 25 years ago today, Brian Pillman, also known as Flying Brian, passed away on this date back in 1997, 25 years ago today, at the age of 35, from basically heart disease, arterial sclerosis. Flying Brian was known for his incredible athletic ability. Coming from a football background, he trained the Hart Dungeon in the early 80s, and then eventually, in his early part of his career, would team up with Bruce Hart and win at least a few Stampede Wrestling Tag Team titles. And then would, of course, move on to his time in WCW, where he became one of the top light heavyweights, cruiserweights of in the early 90s there. And then, of course, known more infamously for after he left WCW for his short stint in ECW, and then, of course, WWE, where there was the whole Pillman's got a gun angle. Of course, his son, Brian Pillman Jr., wrestles for AEW now. So, but anyways, on this date, back in 1997, Brian Pillman passed away at the age of 35. So, there we go with that one. Now moving on to the next piece of niche history here. Okay, so on this date in 2002, 20 years ago today, first off, the PBS kids cartoon Sagwa, the Chinese Siamese cat, would end its run on PBS Kids on this date back in 2002. So 20 years ago today, the PBS Kids animated show Sagwa, the Chinese Siamese cat, would conclude its run on PBS Kids. And 2002 is just so nice. We're going to hit it twice, and as one show ends, another begins. As also on this date back in 2002, 20 years ago today, Sunrise Studios' Mobile Suit Gundam Seed would premiere in Japan on this date back in 2002. So back in 2002 on this date, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed would premiere on Japanese television on this date 20 years ago. So with that, guys, I thank you all for being here. Do appreciate all the likes and shares and comments. I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Don't forget, this Friday, of course, I'll have Chris and Diane Tomolovich joining me. They'll be co-hosting with me as we look back. We finish up our coverage of May of 1939, in which we'll be looking at comics that went on sale from United Feature Syndicate back in May of 1939, finishing up that coverage before getting into June of 1939, starting next Friday, the 14th. Let's see. We'll be looking at Comics on Parade, Volume 1, number 15. So I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow and on Friday. And until then, bye!